Were you aware that there's actually two different types of GI Bills? There's the old school Montgomery GI Bill, and in the last handful of years they've come out with a new program, the post 9/11 GI Bill. They're two dramatically different programs that serve the same function, which is to ultimately provide an education package to service members once they exit from military service. Now, obviously, since these programs are different, you're going to want to know which one is best for you. So in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the basic facts about each one of the two GI Bills, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper and talk about what are some of the pros and cons of each one, and sort of analyze some hypothetical scenarios where one GI Bill might be drastically better than the other, or vice versa. And hopefully you guys watch this video before you join the military, because when you get down to basic training, they're going to be asking you to enroll in the Montgomery GI Bill. You can only enroll in the Montgomery GI Bill when you first join the military. If you don't enroll in it at that point, it's a one and done thing and you cannot sign up for that program again. But basic training is chaotic, right? You're getting yelled at and you're sleep deprived, and so that's really not the time where you want to be soaking up this financial and education information that they're trying to give you about which one is better under what circumstances. So you want to make sure that you're well prepared before you join the military. So as a real quick disclaimer, this video is intended for active duty military members only. Members of the Guard and Reserve do get a wide variety of education benefits, but their GI Bills are different than ours. They usually get something on a prorated basis. So if you are a member of the Guard or Reserve, be sure to talk to your education center as far as what your current benefits are. In addition, the benefits for active duty military members, the amount that it pays out varies from year to year. The new fiscal year for the military starts on 1 October. So if you're watching this video at some point in the future, some of the exact rates that they pay out or some of the rules concerning these two GI Bills may have changed in the future. For the most up-to-date information, be sure to check out the VA's website. All right, so let's start with some basic facts about the Montgomery GI Bill. This is sort of the default enrollment. When you get down to basic training, they're going to be trying to get you to sign up for the Montgomery GI Bill, because you actually have to sign up for the Montgomery GI Bill. If you don't sign up for it during basic training, it's a one and done thing. You cannot sign up for it at any point in the future, so you have to do it when you first join the military. Now, it does cost some money. In fact, it's going to cost you $100 a month for the first 12 months that you're in the service. So essentially, it's going to cost you a grand total of $1,200 to enroll in the Montgomery GI Bill. Now, in return, you're going to get 36 months worth of education benefits once you ultimately separate from the military. Now, typically an academic calendar year is only about 9 months. So if you're getting 36 months, then realistically you're getting 4 full years worth of education benefits. So theoretically, this will take care of a bachelor's degree from start to finish if you're going to school full time. Now, the Montgomery GI Bill is going to pay you directly a set of funds each and every month. And then it's your responsibility to take that money that they have given you to turn around and actually pay the school your tuition, fees, books, etc. Now, you cannot transfer the Montgomery GI Bill to any of your dependents, so this is strictly for you to use. And generally, you have to use your GI Bill within 10 years. Any remaining benefits that you have on your GI Bill after 10 years typically are lost. All right, so how much does the Montgomery GI Bill actually pay? Well, if you're going to school full-time, they currently pay out $2,122 per month. If you're going 3/4 time or half time, the amount becomes a little bit less. And the math on this is pretty easy. If you're going to school half time, then you get half as much money. If you're going to school 3/4 time, then you get 3/4 as much money, 75%. So if you're going to school half time, you get half of that $2,122, so you get $1,061 a month, and that's, like I said, going to be sent straight to you. So what is considered full-time and half-time? Well, full-time enrollment is defined as anything 12 or more credit hours per semester. 3/4 time then is 3/4 of that amount, or 9 or more. Half-time is anything over 6. Now, what if you don't want to actually go to college? What if you don't want to get a degree? Well, the GI Bill is also going to give you money for apprentice or internship programs. So for the Montgomery GI Bill, they're going to give you roughly $1,600 a month for an internship or apprentice program for the first 6 months. And then for the second 6 months, they're going to give you a little bit less. They're going to give you about $1,167 a month. And then any remaining time is about $740 a month. So this can be a fantastic way if you're trying to get into some sort of a trade skill type thing. Maybe you want to be a welder, plumber, HVAC, electrician, etc. A lot of times those places have internships, paid internships, where you can be getting paid to learn from your employer, and the GI Bill is going to give you money on top of that. So this is obviously not an all-inclusive list, but these are a few companies that have historically offered paid internship or apprentice programs for military members that qualify for this GI Bill. So here you can see some pretty prominent companies like Procter & Gamble if you want to get into the pharmaceutical business, Lockheed Martin for avionics, anything police related, law enforcement, homeland security, firefighter, etc. There's a wide variety of programs out here that are going to qualify for this internship or apprentice program. All right, now let's talk about the post 9/11 GI Bill. This is the newer GI Bill program that came out recently. And the post 9/11 GI Bill is completely free. Unlike the Montgomery GI Bill where you had to contribute $100 a month for 12 months, the post 9/11 GI Bill is free. In return, you're still going to get the same 36 months worth of benefits, but these benefits are not paid directly to you. Instead, the money goes straight to the school. So how much money does the post 9/11 GI Bill actually pay out to the schools? Well, it's going to pay 100% of in-state tuition and fees for any public schools. If you want to go to a private school, the amount of money that they will pay out is capped at roughly $25,000 per year. So if you want to go to a private school that costs more than this $25,000 a year, a lot of times the schools participate in another program called the Yellow Ribbon Program. And if they do participate in the Yellow Ribbon Program, then this Yellow Ribbon Program will make up the difference that the GI Bill does not cover. So for example, Yale, one of the most prestigious education institutions here in America, they do participate in the Yellow Ribbon Program. And as you can see here, the tuition and fees for Yale is sky high, significantly more than the $25,000 a year that the GI Bill would typically cover. But in this case, the Yellow Ribbon Program is going to make up the rest and cover the full tuition and fees. Now, unlike the Montgomery GI Bill, you can actually transfer your benefits of the post 9/11 GI Bill to your wife or kids. So maybe you've got a young child and you want to give them your GI Bill so that their education is ultimately covered down the road. Now, there are some conditions for transferring this GI Bill. You have to do it while you're still in the service. You have to have served at least 6 years of active duty before you are eligible to transfer these benefits. And then once you decide to transfer these benefits, you have to recommit to another 4-year term. So realistically, the minimum amount of time that you could serve would be 10 years if you decide to transfer your post 9/11 GI Bill. And realistically, if you're going to do 10 years, then you may as well just do 20 so that you can retire. In addition, the post 9/11 GI Bill is going to give you $1,000 a year stipend for things like books and tutoring. And you may qualify for a housing allowance. Now, this housing allowance varies depending on where you are going to be going to school. Realistically, some parts of the country, housing is very, very cheap, and other places like San Francisco or New York, prices are ridiculously expensive. So it's going to be based on the zip code of the school that you are actually attending. You're going to get paid BAH rates at an E5 with dependents rate. If you're interested in checking out how much you would get paid for your particular school, I'll leave a link down below. All you got to do is type in the zip code of the school and then E5 with dependents. That's going to be how much you would get paid for this housing allowance. But just to give you guys a rough idea of what you might be able to get for this housing allowance, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and currently the BAH rate for E5 with dependents here in Raleigh is about $1,560. If you're somewhere super expensive like San Francisco, BAH for E5 with dependents is over $4,600 a month. And if you're somewhere a little bit cheaper like Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, the rate would be roughly $1,250 a month. Now you can also use this post 9/11 GI Bill for apprenticeship and intern programs, just like the old Montgomery GI Bill. But in this one, you're not going to get paid a flat rate. You're just going to get that housing allowance. So for the first 6 months that you're going through this internship program, they're going to give you 100% of this housing allowance money. And then every 6 months after that, the rate is going to go down by 20%. So your second set of 6 months is only going to get you 80%. The third set of 6 months is going to get you 60%, etc. Now, as a caveat with this housing allowance money, you do have to take at least some of your classes on the campus in person. You can do some stuff online, but you can't do all of it online. So for example, if you do all of your stuff online, you're going to get a flat housing allowance of $916 a month, regardless of the zip code that you live in. If you take at least one class in person and all the other classes online, that's fine. You can get the full housing allowance based on your zip code. And the second caveat to that is that if you're going to school half-time or less, you don't get any housing allowance. So realistically, you would have to be going to school at least 3/4 time or more, which means that you would have to be taking at least 9 credit hours per semester in order to get any kind of housing allowance. So now that we have these two programs, some of the details laid out for you guys, under what set of circumstances might one be better than the other? Well, we'll start off with the post 9/11 GI Bill. That one obviously has some things going for it. First off, it's free. You don't have to pay for it whatsoever. So if you're not entirely sure if you're actually going to use your GI Bill or not, if you're maybe not planning on going to school or trade school or anything like that once you separate, then obviously the free route is a pretty good place to start. In addition, think about where you might be located once you separate from the military. Are you going to go back home? Are you going to maybe move to California or Florida or Ohio? Where do you see yourself ending up once you separate from the military? Because if you plan on going to a super expensive area like San Francisco, LA, New York City, places where the housing allowance is ridiculously high, then obviously that is going to benefit you if you are going with the post 9/11 GI Bill, where you're going to get paid based on your location of the housing allowance. Another thing to consider is if you plan on going to a very expensive private school, then you might want to go with the post 9/11 GI Bill so that you can also use that yellow ribbon program to cover whatever the post 9/11 GI Bill does not cover. The yellow ribbon program is only associated with the post 9/11 GI Bill. You cannot use it with the Montgomery GI Bill. So if we go back and look at Yale's tuition and fees, you see that they would charge roughly $58,000 a year in tuition and fees. And between the post 9/11 GI Bill and the yellow ribbon program, that would cover the entire tuition and fees to go to Yale. Whereas with the older Montgomery GI Bill, they would only pay out that $2,122 a month, which translates into a little over $25,000 for the year. And then the rest of that, you would be coming out of pocket for. Also, if you're not sure if you're going to actually use the GI Bill yourself or not, then the post 9/11 GI Bill at least gives you the opportunity to transfer those benefits at a later date to maybe your wife or kids. Even if you don't have any kids now, That doesn't necessarily mean that later on down the road might find that person of your dreams and have some kids. And once you do have kids, then you can transfer those benefits as long as you are still within the service and commit to an extra 4 years. And the last reason that the post 9/11 GI Bill might be beneficial for you is if you already have some college under your belt and you may not need the full 36 months in order to get your bachelor's degree and you have no plan on pursuing any higher education, you don't want to get a master's or doctorate, etc. Because since you have to sign up and pay for the Montgomery GI Bill, you have to pay $1,200. It really doesn't make sense to pay $1,200 if you only need maybe a year's worth of education benefits once you ultimately get out of the military. So in that case, just stick with the post 9/11 GI Bill because it's free. Use that to finish up your last 6 months or a year or whatever before you graduate. So when might the old Montgomery GI Bill be better? Well, if you remember back, one of the key differentials was that under the Montgomery GI Bill, they paid the money directly to you and then you turned around and paid the school. Well, what if the school you go to is just very, very cheap? What if you don't need that full $21, $22 a month in order to pay for tuition, books, and fees, etc.? Well, the rest of that money then is just yours to keep. And this can be especially great if you have alternative means to pay for school. Maybe you get some grants or some scholarships that are able to cover your full tuition. In that case, this $21, $22 a month that they're giving you is just yours to do whatever you want to. So the Montgomery GI Bill can be pretty nice if you plan on being able to get a lot of tuition reimbursement, grants, scholarships, etc. And you plan on living in a relatively cheap area and maybe attending a cheap school to begin with. The location matters because you are not going to be getting that housing allowance that you got under the post 9/11 GI Bill. So that housing allowance, you're basically just going to have to use that $21, $22 a month that they're giving you in order to actually live off of. So if you're living somewhere super expensive like New York, LA, San Francisco, etc., then obviously that $21, $22 is not going to go very far, even if you get scholarships, etc. So that would lean back more towards the post 9/11 GI Bill. And another area where the Montgomery GI Bill excels is if you plan on going to school 100% online. Because with the post 9/11 GI Bill, you're getting a drastically reduced housing allowance of only about $900 a month if you're doing it 100% online. The Montgomery GI Bill doesn't care if you're going to school online or in person. You're going to get the full amount based on whether you're going to school full-time, 3/4 time, half-time, etc. So assuming that you're going to school full-time, you would get the full $21, $22 a month with the Montgomery GI Bill, and you'd only be getting a little over $900 in housing money with the post 9/11 GI Bill. So that leaves about a $1,200 a month difference. So assuming that you can find a relatively cheap college or you can get some grants and scholarships, etc., where your cost for attending school is less than $1,200 a month, then going with the Montgomery GI Bill for an online tuition would be the way to go. And lastly, the same rules apply if you plan on going to school only part-time. Remember, with the post 9/11 GI Bill, you don't get any housing allowance if you're going to school half-time or less. But with the post 9/11 GI Bill, you're going to get still paid the half rate, so about $1,060. And then as long as your monthly tuition for these, 2 or 3 classes that you're planning on taking cost you less than that $1,000, then anything after that would be yours to keep. So that's going to wrap it up for us today, folks. The 2 different GI Bills in a nutshell, and under some circumstances, which one might be better than the other. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below. This channel is dedicated to all things personal finance related, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. I have new videos almost every day. I love hearing from you guys. And until next time, I'll see you all again. Thanks.